We're joined by Julian Woodcock, Managing Director of Viking Mines. Julian, thanks for your time.
Hey David, thanks for having me here.
The main game is the cane grass battery metals project near Mount Magnet in Western Australia. Why is this project so compelling?
Look, our cane grass project's really compelling for a number of reasons. It's a very large resource, a magnetite resource, which is iron, but it hosts vanadium, which is the mineral or the element that we're focusing on, and we see a future very bright for vanadium in terms of the development in the battery sector. But our resource, we've undertaken a lot of work in the last 12 months since acquiring the project, and it's just continued to perform. Every time we go and do work, we went out, did some mapping, we saw the opportunity to grow the resource, we doubled the resource from the previously stated amount, brought it to a very large level containing over 2 billion pounds of vanadium, and the vanadium market's currently trading about $5 or $6 a pound, so a huge inherent value. Subsequent to that, we then also undertook a pit optimization study. This is throwing some economics, current pricings at the project. It is an inferred resource, so we can't state any reserves from this. However, we've seen a very encouraging output from that. Our base case scenario has delivered us over 60 million tonnes of resource, which is more than enough for us to move forwards with. The key thing there is we're looking at a strategic target of producing around 1.5 million tonnes of ore a year. So we were targeting about 30 million tonnes, gives a 20-year mine life. We've doubled that, which has now given us the opportunity to focus in on one of the 3 deposits in the area called Fold Nose. Fold Nose is going to provide about 39 million tonnes in our study, so it's the right size for us to take forward, increase the resource confidence, which is drilling work we've got planned later this year. We'll bring that up to the indicated level, and then we'll be able to take it through a scoping study. The one thing I'll just finalise to touch on is the metallurgy. The really important thing is how you get it out the rock. Metallurgically, it's been performing extremely well. We feed in samples, and we're getting about half of the rock that we feed in is performing to a concentrate. That concentrate's increased grade to over 1.4%, which is a very good feed grade, to then take it through roasting. Again, we've demonstrated that, so we're showing the full pathway to getting the vanadium out of the ground.
And importantly, strong infrastructure advantages.
Yeah, really good infrastructure where we are. So we're about 600 k's from Perth, or a little bit less. Importantly, only 20 kilometres to bitumen from the project. There's a historic vanadium mine 15 k's to the east of our project that's on care and maintenance, so there's gas and infrastructure associated with that, and potential synergies with having further discussions with them as potential strategic partners. Only 420 k's to Geraldton, the port just to the west of us, so in the event this project gets to development, we've got a pathway to exporting concentrate to release the value of the iron component as well. So good infrastructure, good location, multi-commodity, vanadium, iron, opportunity for titanium, copper, nickel and cobalt, so you can get involved with a whole number of different commodities with this asset.
And why vanadium? For investors who don't know much about the commodity, why is it a commodity they should be focusing on both now and into the future?
Look, that's a really good question. I'm glad you asked. Most of my talks with any investors start with that question: what do you know about vanadium? And I'd say 9 times out of 10 I get the answer they don't know very much. In our case, vanadium is actually used extensively in the steel sector. 90% of world supply goes into that, so it's got a good base requirement which is always going to be there. However, the exciting aspects, the growth of the vanadium redox flow battery. The redox flow battery is a new technology being adopted. It's actually been around for a long time, but it's got a lot of advantages over lithium ion for large energy, fixed energy storage scenarios. And they have the key capacity of lasting over 20 to 25 years, so about twice the length of a lithium ion battery. They don't degrade, so you can charge them 100% down to 0 and then back up again, and at the end of their life you've got the value of the vanadium. So for these reasons, the vanadium redox flow battery is showing growth rates. A few years ago only 1% of annual supply went into batteries, now it's 10%, and the forecast is it'll be about 50% within a decade. That puts a lot of pressure on needing to grow resources to deliver into that supply within the next 10 years, and our project could arguably provide a reasonable and meaningful supply to that scenario.
And where to from here for the project?
Look, I've touched on it before. Converting the resources from inferred to indicated is our next step. There's a lot of good information on our website of where we've got to so far. So we plan on having the drill rig out there within probably the June or at least the September quarter, complete a few thousand metres of drilling, which we're fully funded to do. There's no need to raise. We had over 5 million in the bank at the end of the last quarter. In parallel, continue to advance the metallurgy. There's a few tweaks we'd like to try, which will increase further potential revenue through the project. And on combining that information together, we look at completing a scoping study or potentially even a PFS.
And you still have more in the portfolio. You have an interesting gold lithium project in Menzies in Western Australia. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, so briefly on that, it's an additional opportunity for investors to be exposed to. There's a high-grade gold deposit on the tenure, which we acquired a number of years ago, which produced 30,000 ounces at about 7 grams. So there's opportunity for further gold discoveries. But what we're really looking at the moment is the lithium. So a company called Delta Lithium are 60 kilometres north along strike and within the same sort of rocks. They've defined over 12 million tonnes at 1 and a bit % lithium. On the back of that, we've built up a large land holding, about 420 square kilometres. We completed a auger drilling program in December, from which we've defined about 8 substantial anomalies within the area we want to follow up. And we're in the process of looking at the next steps in that, which will involve mapping, sampling, with the aim to further define the anomalies and potentially drilling later this year.
Right commodity, right location, right time, well funded with strong technical capabilities, exciting times ahead for Viking and its shareholders. Julian, thanks for your time.
Thanks very much, David.